Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. And today we're back with the Emperor, going to be leading the Empire up against the Warriors of Chaos. You can see we've already got some Vanguard shenanigans going on with some Marauder Horsemen throwing axes facing off with some Outriders, 3 groups of Empire Knights, and of course a Light Wizard. What in the world? Karl Franz and no healing. Wow. Balls on this one. He's got Net of Talk and Barona's Time Warp. Very interesting. Front line of State Troops, Spearmen with shields, some Great Swords, and Sigmar's Sons in the second line, and yeah, aforementioned Empire Knights. For the Warriors of Chaos, front line is mixed Forsaken and Chaos Warriors with great weapons, with Archaon on foot. He's got some Poison Warhounds and some Dragon Ogres, as well as the Mirror Guard and Chaos Warriors with Halberds protecting the back. And yeah, you can see the Outriders took a little bit of damage. They were able to return fire a bit there on those Marauder Horsemen, so we'll see. I am very genuinely curious to see how this turns out. Pretty much I would say when you're bringing Karl Franz, because he's such a big expensive target, and because he's potentially so powerful, you would almost always want to bring healing, but this guy here, going ahead and opting for a Light Wizard instead, looks like these Empire Knights going to maybe get baited out, or these are not actually Chaos Poison Warhounds, they're just regular Warhounds, but they're going to have to be careful. There are these Dragon Ogres on station, and, you know, plenty of armor-piercing troops here as well, so it looks like he does try and pull away there with the one unit. The other 2 units going to be taking up a flanking position, but some very nice Overwatch fire from those Outriders, doing some good damage. And the Chaos Warriors taking a charge there inside. They're not going to take too much shock damage from just Empire Knights, and again, the Dragon Ogres right on station to help deal with them, so potentially the Dragon Ogres are going to get some really good value here, taking out these Empire Knights. Meanwhile, on the front line, you can see Forsaken and Chaos Warriors getting in here. The Light Wizard probably wants to try and drop a net there, potentially to bail out the Empire Knights, but it does look like the Dragon Ogres have caught them. That being said, Karl Franz dropped all his buffs up to 80 melee attack, 70 melee defense, massive weapon strength with AP as well. You can see the silver bullets in the back line opening up shots, so we'll grab some cinematics of Karl Franz just wrecking the Lord of the End Times here on foot. You can see Archaon's taking a ton of damage here, even with that Slayer of Kings, and it looked like maybe he had Cascading Fire Cloak up at one moment as well. And oh man, is this a Flame Storm? Ooh, very nicely dodged there by the Empire player to get out of the way with the silver bullets. They did not take much damage there at all. Meanwhile, Great Swords helping to hold off these Chaos Warriors here. The Empire Knights are in a very unfavorable situation. Maybe if they all collapse here just by weight of numbers, they could win against these Dragon Ogres, but the Dragon Ogres definitely are going to be able to do a lot of damage here, especially with the support of the Chaos Poison Warhounds. That being said, keeping the Dragon Ogres away from the battle does mean that Karl Franz is going to be free, more or less, to cycle charge Archaon, and that is bad news for the Lord of the End Times here, as Karl Franz is by far and away the best combat character in the game. Has taken quite a bit of damage though, and a very nice Burning Head now shutting down those silver bullets. Overcast Burning Head, in fact. Might have wanted to, of course, he probably wanted to save that for the main line. If the Flame Storm had worked, then Archaon would have been able to pop that down this main line here and just wreck all these state troops. But unfortunately, it's arguable that he maybe even should have done that anyway. Then the Forsaken could have maybe pushed through and shut down the silver bullets anyway. But as it is, those silver bullets are gone. Just completely gone. Outriders still online though, able to get some good flanking fire here. Turning to respond to the Forsaken that are pushing up and around the flank here. Been disengaged. They are going to get netted, unfortunately, by the Light Wizard here. And oh man, that Scorch coming in and getting a great side shot there, essentially acting like the Amber Spear. And that is one thing I did not test in my Magic Missiles testing video, is, the Blast, rather. Essentially looks like it's like an Amber Spear, so cutting sideways through those Forsaken, just doing a ton of damage there. Meanwhile, out on the far side, you can see the Empire Knights, all things considered, have actually done some pretty decent damage to these Dragon Ogres. It has been able to take out more or less all of them, but at the same time, again, it's been keeping them away from this main battle line, which they could be supporting, especially against like Karl Franz, for example. But Archaon is still online. Karl's going to have to be careful. He's taking quite a bit of damage here, and if he goes down, the Empire troops are not going to be happy in terms of their leadership. Great Swords here holding out kind of next to this spooky hill here. Doing very well against Chaos Warriors and Forsaken, especially with the State Troop Spearmen to help soak some of those hits as well. Outriders providing some good Overwatch fire here onto these Chaos Warriors with great weapons. They probably want to turn and now, since they're routed off, start focusing on these halberds. These halberds are going to be one of the bigger threats in the late game with their anti-large AP. They could potentially do a lot of damage to Franz and everything, but instead choosing to go after the Marauder Horseman, which I guess is fair play. He doesn't really have anything that can catch the Marauder Horseman, so the only way to deal with them is with the ranged units. So I probably would have personally focused on the halberds there, but this Empire player in choosing instead to focus on the Marauder Horseman, which is also an acceptable target. Absolutely. You can see the Dragon Ogres, having finished off the Empire Knights, are making their way over to the main battle line now. But we'll see what happens with them. KARL Franz still just cycle charging Archaon as much as possible. The Mirror Guard standing in here. Ooh, some fancy stuff. One of them just getting dropped from the air by KARL. But the Mirror Guard should be able to hold out here. They're immune to psychology, of course, so they won't get terrified. I believe Archaon has the Crown of Domination. No, he does not. So the other troops will not be immune to psychology here. But, yeah, we'll see. KARL's doing exactly what he should, which is just continuously taking advantage of that massive charge bonus of 90, and also dropping support buffs for all these troops that are fighting in this pocket as well, and a very nice net in the late game, netting down these Dragon Ogres, allowing the Outriders to use up the last of their volleys. They've only got, what, a couple volleys left, so once they're out of ammunition, they should just go ahead and charge in. Two almost full units of Outriders just have enough unit models by weight of numbers to probably finish off these Dragon Ogres. It's hard to say, but KARL Franz just continuing to do his thing in the state troops, also fighting in the front line very well. Once these great swords are free from these Chaos Warriors over here, they can come over and help stabilize this part of the battlefield as well. With their armor piercing damage, you can see the heroic Outriders charging in for a heroic fight truly against the Dragon Ogres here. The Empire will be proud of your sacrifice, boys. That being said, the Dragon Ogres, because they're not actually attacking, they're trying to just force path through. We're not getting any hits in. KARL comes and just kills one and actually terrifies away the rest. Just kills another one there. Wow. Holy cow, KARL. Yeah, with the Dragon Ogres getting finished off, you can see that does start to tip the balance of power more and more. The Great Swords also making their way over to this fight where Archaon is, so should be seeing a late game push here, and you can see the old corpses from battles of ages past mixing with the new ones, and Archaon giving himself a bit more melee defense. No, not sure exactly what he just cast there. Maybe that was a fireball on KARL. I see he's got the little being shot at icon, so I'm assuming that's what it was. But yeah, great swords coming in here. Barona's Time Warp in the late game going to buff up their melee attack to be able to help finish off like the Mirror Guard and everything here. So yeah, 58 melee attack on those great swords, pretty serious, and they are racking up the kills, up to 90 kills so far. Just about got an XP chevron. Meanwhile, KARL, of course, in the area of effect for that Time Warp as well, going to be getting extra melee attack, but just about gets finished off by Archaon there. Oh man, they're both so low at this point, but Archaon, his leadership is just not there, and he actually routes, and that's going to lead to just a general chain rout of the Warriors of Chaos here. So yeah, probably going to get finished off by that charge, I would imagine. Nope, still alive. Still alive. Oh, come on, KARL. Get him, KARL. Come on, KARL. You can finish him. Nope. Maybe not. Regardless, though, that is pretty much going to be the end for the Warriors of Chaos. Whether KARL can actually land a hit here or not, there's only the Mirror Guard left holding out at this point, and the Great Swords, everything else should be able to clean them up, so there it is. Victory for the Empire. Very well played. A big thanks to Big Mike for sending that one in. A lot of fun, certainly, to see KARL Franz with no healing, and that replay kind of shows why I tend to take healing pretty much always, but certainly some good nets there, and a very nice use of that Barona's Time Warp in the late game as well. So he did get some good value, absolutely, out of his magic, and that Scorch, man, I'll have to start taking that item more as kind of an anti-infantry / anti-cavalry tool. I'm curious to see, I Might have to have a look at it at another point to see if it does the same thing against like heavy cavalry as Amber Spear, but certainly it seemed to cut through those Forsaken perfectly fine, so maybe that is something to consider as well. But just in general, Great Swords did end up getting that XP Chevron in the end. They traded very well against the Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons with the support of KARL. It's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons, and Forsaken for that matter. We'll talk about that in just a minute here, but the Outriders also performed excellently. I'm a big fan of Pistoliers, as you guys know, but Outriders certainly can be very good in this matchup, especially if you're trying to fire at armored infantry. They obviously are going to be better than Pistoliers at that. Empire Knights were kind of sacrificed a little bit. They did some okay damage to the Dragon Ogres, but did feed them a bunch of kills and XP Chevrons at the end of the day. But, ultimately, keeping them away from the battlefield so that they weren't as much of a threat to KARL, I think, ended up being a pretty big deal in the late game. But in general, Chaos Warriors did okay in the front line. 91 kills on Forsaken is also not bad. But just in general, I'm not the biggest fan of Forsaken. I know I've said that before, and you guys can have your own opinions about that. But just in general, in this matchup, I would say, especially because you potentially are going to be facing some really good armor-piercing missiles, you definitely want to have shields. So if I can find the Warriors of Chaos there at the end. So Archaon, solid pick here. I would say, though, if you're going to go up against the Empire and you're just looking for an infantry tank lord, take Sigvald. He's more survivable. You can just about cut everything on him, and he is super duper cheap, so he'll allow you to go a little bit wider. That does mean you have to bring a caster separately, but that means you're not going to be as susceptible to be getting gooned by KARL Franz, which is a huge, huge danger in this particular matchup currently. And in general, Lore of Fire is not too bad. Lore of Shadows is also very, very good. I would say having Melkos, Enfeebling Foe, and Penumbral Pendulum are usually my go-to. You can clear out light state troops, debuff single entity high value targets, or just single units rather. Melkos helps you control heavy cavalry as well. And then from there, definitely agree with the pick of the Mirror Guard. I'm also going to grab 2 Shielded Chosen, just to act as kind of a very heavy core. The shields give them a 60% missile block chance. They also have 60 melee defense, meaning they're good even against like charging heavy cavalry because of that high melee defense. And then we are going to grab some Dragon Ogres. I do like that pick. The Poison Warhounds and some Marauder Horsemen as well, and then we'll also just grab some Chaos Marauders in the front line to give us some extra numbers. And I do feel that we're lacking a little bit in some certain tools, but we also have some tools to deal with. Certain things you could, at this point, go for a couple of different routes. If you're not expecting too much heavy cavalry and you're comfortable with the counter cavalry tools you have, you could bring a chariot to disrupt enemy infantry and just in general help win the infantry fight more decisively. You could bring more Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. If you were to optimize cost a little bit on something here, like say maybe you drop standard die, and maybe you drop the horse from this bad boy, then you can afford to bring the Weird Spawn, which although they are a little bit of a target for missile units, the Armor Sundering can help these non-armor piercing, Chosen and Mirror Guard trade more effectively against Great Swords and heavy cavalry and things like that. So a Weird Spawn definitely can be a very good pick in this matchup. Alternately, if you do want to bring, Powerhouse Lord, I would say Big Bird is also a very good pick here. Final Transmutation, because your opponent has healing, I don't know that I would necessarily take that, but certainly Plague of Rust and Searing Doom can help shut down light state troops and missile units, so these two I would say are definitely essential. And then you can kind of kit them out however else you want. Scroll of Leeching might not be bad, but in general, layering that Plague of Rust with the Sundered Armor, it gives you a minus 90 armor in total. So that means that even somebody like KARL Franz or like Empire Knights, Reichsguard, things like that will be at 20 to 30 armor, even 0 armor for some units. So you can definitely take advantage of the fact that you have all this armor sundering. You could even cheap out on these guys and bring non-AP missile cav rather than the AP missile cav. If you were to optimize one more thing here, you could probably even bring a 4th unit. But anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Definitely a very even matchup, and Big Bird, the biggest danger for him obviously is that you're going to have to micro him a lot to keep him away from Karl Franz. He will take some charges and he will take some damage, but if you're on top of your micro, you can try and dodge Karl Franz's charge, come in with like the Hounds and some of your other high mass units, block in Karl, you know, hit him with that Plague of Rust potentially, hit him with the Weird Spawn. There are some things you can do, but I definitely would say that Sarthrail is not going to hold up in combat against somebody like Karl Franz at all, so that is a risk. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.